Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jai Vaida Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Vaida Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Madhyana Vimarandasya Jnananjana Shalakya Chakshurmidamena Rasmai Shigurave Namah Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bodhani Srimade Bhaktivedanta Swami Nidinamini Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Prashamini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshakayani Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram. Hare Krishna. So now we'll sum up. So yesterday we saw the Śikṣāṣṭaka prayers. Please by heart it with the meaning. Okay, the only 8 verses written by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Krishna himself. So please recite it. And it is said, whoever recites the Śikṣāṣṭaka every day, the love towards Krishna increases. So this is just Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami summing up, or a summary of all the Antya Lila. He's summary he's saying. That's why I just stopped here. So now let me repeat all the pastimes of Antya Lila, for if I do so, I shall taste the pastime again. The first chapter, so there are 20 chapters in Antya Lila. The first chapter describes how Rupa Goswami met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for the second time, and how the Lord heard his 2 dramas, Vidakta Madhava and Lalita Madhava. That chapter also describes the incidents of Shivananda Sena's dog, who was induced by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to chant the holy name of Krishna and was thus liberated. The second chapter tells how the Lord instructively punished Junior Haridas. Also in that chapter is a description of the wonderful vision of Shivananda Sena. The third chapter is a description of the forceful glories of Haridas Thakur. That chapter also mentioned how Damodar Pandit spoke words of criticism to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The third chapter also tells how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu delivered everyone by bestowing upon the universe the holy name of the Lord. And it describes how Haridas Thakur established the glories of holy name by his practical example. The fourth chapter describes Sanatana Goswami's second visit to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and how the Lord saved him from committing suicide. The fourth chapter also tells how Sanatana Goswami was tested in the sunshine of Jyeshta, this May and June, and was then empowered and sent back to Vrindavan. The fifth chapter tells how the Lord showed his favor to Pradyumna Mishra and made him hear topics of Krishna from Ramananda Rai. The chapter also describes how Sarup Damodar Goswami rejected the drama of a poet from Bengal and established the glories of the deity. Sixth chapter describes how Raghunath Das Goswami met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and performed the Chip Rice Festival, that is Panihatti Chitadehi Festival, right? In accordance with the Nityananda Prabhu's order. That chapter also tells how the Lord entrusted Raghunath Das Goswami to the care of Sarup Damodar Goswami and gave Raghunath Das the gift of a stone from Govardhan Hill and a garland of small conch shells. The seventh chapter tells how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met Vallabh Bhatta and dismantled his false bridle in various ways. Eighth chapter described the arrival of Ramachandrapuri, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu minimized his eating due to fear of him. Ninth chapter is description of how Gopinath Patnaika was delivered and how the people of the 3 worlds were able to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In 10th chapter, he described how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tasted the food given by his devotees. And I've also described the assortments in the bags of Raghav Pandit. Also in that chapter is a description of how the Lord examined Govinda and how he danced in the temple. The 11th chapter describes the disappearance of Haridas Thakur and how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality Godhead, showed his affection for his devotees. In the 12th chapter, a description of how Jagannatha Pandit broke a pot of oil and how Lord Nityananda chastised Shivananda Sena. The 13th chapter tells how Jagadananda Pandita went to Mathura and returned, how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by chance heard a song sung by a Devadasi dancing girl. Also, the 13th chapter is account of how Raghunath Bhatta met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's by his costless mercy sent him to Vrindavan. 14th chapter describes the beginning of the Lord's spiritual trance, in which his body was in Jagannath Puri, but his mind was in Vrindavan. All the transcendental pastime. Also in the chapter is a description of how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fell down in the front of Simhadwara gate of Jagannath temple and his bones separated at the joints. Now various transcendental symptoms awakened in him. Dashta Sattvika Vihar. Also in the chapter is a description of how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ran towards the Śikṣāṣṭaka Parvata and spoke like a madman. In the 15th chapter is a description of how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu entered a garden on the seashore and mistook it for Vrindavan. Also in the chapter is a description of the attraction of Lord Chaitanya's 5 senses to Krishna. Now he searched for Krishna in rasa dance. The 16th chapter tells how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed his mercy to Kalidasa and thus demonstrated the result of eating the remnants of food of the Vaishnavas. Kalidasa is the one who ate the remnants. It also described how Shivananda's son composed a verse and how the doorkeeper of Simhadwar showed Krishna to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Also in this chapter, the glories of Mahaprasadam is explained and a verse is pasted describing the effect of nectar from the lips of Krishna. The 17th chapter recounts how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fell among cows and assumed the form of a tortoise and is an ecstatic emotion. In the sense, Kurma Narsimha, no? The hands and legs and everything went inside the body. That chapter also tells how the attributes of Krishna's sound attracted the mind of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who then described in ecstasy the meaning of Kastriya Angate verse. That's 3. The 17th chapter also tells how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, due to conjunction of various ecstatic emotions, again began speaking like a madman and described in detail the meaning of the verse from Krishna Karnamrita. The 18th chapter is an account of how the Lord fell into the ocean and in ecstasy saw in a dream the pastime of water fights between Krishna and the gopis. In that dream, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw Krishna's picnic in the forest. As Lord Chaitanya floated in the sea, a fisherman caught him and the Lord returned to his own residence. All this is encountered in the 18th chapter. The 19th chapter is a description of how Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rubbed his face against the wall. It was like gone sound used to come and spoke like a madman because of separation from Krishna. That chapter also describes Krishna's wandering in the garden on a spring night and fully describes the meaning of the verse about the scent of Krishna's body. The 20th chapter tells how Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recited his own 8 stanzas of instruction. That is this chapter, that is called Śikṣāṣṭaka, and tasted their meaning in ecstatic love. So Mahaprabhu himself wrote, actually Mahaprabhu wrote a book. And it's about the Vedic, the Nyaya philosophy, in the sense, the grammar and all. He was Nimai Pandit that time, right? So he wrote a book on grammar. And he was going in a boat with his friend. And his friend also wrote a book called Nyaya, that is grammar. So when Mahaprabhu showed his book, the friend was feeling so bad that his book is not good. The Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's book is very nice. So he felt bad and Nimai Pandit asked, what happened to you? So he said, no, you wrote a book better than mine. So everyone is going to read your book, not mine. Immediately, what did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu do? He took his book, wrote of Nyaya philosophy and the grammar and threw it in Ganges. It's like, see, those days, no Xerox machine, no scanning, nothing, no soft copy. So it's just that one handwritten manuscript. He threw it in Ganges. It's like, I don't want it. Your book, let your book be published and let everyone read your book. Because the meaning is why Krishna has to write something on grammar, right? People, because that's Nimai Pandit. That's Nimai Pandit's pastime is different, but Krishna didn't come for that purpose. He came to give us Śikṣāṣṭaka. So this is the only 8 stanzas of instruction given by the Lord, and he himself have tasted the meaning. That's why Śikṣāṣṭaka is so important. I request all of you to learn it. It's every day you sing it, it's easy to remember. Otherwise, you can't mug it up. Just sing every day, automatically you'll remember. Before Japa, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu composed those 8 stanzas to instruct the devotees. But he also personally tasted their meaning. He just didn't do it only for himself. Even for us, it's instruction for the devotees, and he personally tasted their meaning. He understood the every meaning of that verse. Bhakteshi kaite Śikṣāṣṭaka kahila sei slokashtaira artha puna aswadhila. So he himself have done aswadhina, tasted the meaning, and he has given for the instruction of devotees. I've thus repeated the principal pastimes and their meaning, for by such repetition one can remember the description in the book. In every chapter there are various topics, but I've repeated only those that are principal, for not all of them could be described again. The Vrindavan deities of Madan Mohan with Srimati Radharani, Govinda with Srimati Radharani, and Gopinath with Srimati Radharani are the life and soul of Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So the Madan Mohan deities represents the Sambandha, the Govinda is the Avideya, and Gopinath is Prayojana deity. So these are the 3 principal deities of Vrindavan, and Radharaman represents all 3. So that my desire may be fulfilled, and I place the lotus feet of these personalities on my head. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with Lord Nityananda, Advaita Acharya and the devotees, as well as Sri Swarup Damodar Goswami, Sri Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, who is my spiritual master, and Sri Jiva Goswami. The mercies. It's actually the Goswamis who made Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami write it. So he's saying it's just the mercy of the lotus feet of the lotus feet, my spiritual master, and my words are my disciples, whom I have made dance in various forms. Seeing the fatigue of the disciples, the spiritual master has stopped making them dance. And because that mercy no longer makes them dance, my words now sit silently. So he's like, it's my spiritual master who made me write. And now he's not making me write. So I'm just sitting silently. That means he's about to wind up the book. My inexperienced words do not know how to dance by themselves. The mercy of the Guru made them dance as much as possible. Now after dancing, they are taking rest. I now worship the lotus feet of all my readers, for by their mercy of the lotus feet, there is all good fortune. If one hears the pastime of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as described in Chaitanya Charitamrite Yei Jana Shuni Tandra Charana Dukha Karon Ni Pane. If one hears the pastime of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as described in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, I wash his lotus feet and drink the water. That's what Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is saying. I decorate my head with the dust of the lotus feet of my audience. Now you have all drunk this nectar. Therefore, my labor is successful. We're able to drink that nectar. Shrotara padareno karo mastaka pushana tumara e amrita pile safala haila shrama. So his shrama is safala now. It's like successful because many, not only us, many have read this. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I Krishnadas and narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita following in their footsteps. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita is filled with activities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the Supreme Personality Godhead himself. It invokes, so Namanishi Prabhu says, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is who? Krishna with compassion, that's it. You can't say he's just avatari or nothing. He's Krishna with compassion, compassionate Krishna, because Radharani is there. It invokes all good fortune and destroys every inauspicious thing. If one tastes the nectar of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita with faith and love, I become like a bumblebee tasting the honey of transcendental love from his lotus feet. With faith, we should drink. This is what Amala Pada Patni. So he says that he worshipped them. Whoever drinks the nectar of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Since this book, Chaitanya Charitamrita, is now complete, having been written for the satisfaction of the most opulent deities, Madan Mohanji and Govindaji, let it be offered at the lotus feet of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Dev. So why we are doing devotional service is to satisfy the Lord, right? Some Siddhim Haritoshan. That should be our only desire, to satisfy Krishna. Realize devotees are like bumblebees, maddened by their own mellows at Krishna's lotus feet. The scent of those lotus feet perfumes the entire world. Use a realized soul, and that could give them up. In Vrindavan in the year 1537, Shakhabhadra era, in the month of Jyeshta, May, June, on Sunday, the 5th day of waxing moon, this Chaitanya Charitamrita has been completed. Haribol.
Haribol, Mataji. Thank you.
Haribol, so you finished?
Haribol, thank you, Mataji.
So,
thank you, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Mataji.
Haribol, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Tomorrow we'll be missing these classes. Tomorrow at
Mataji, you start again.
These classes. Since we have
Mataji, you start again.
We'll tell now Prabhu to start. Even I can. Prabhu.
Yeah, it is never not boring at all.
Very sweet, no?
I hope all of you could understand a little bit about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, no?
yes, Mataji.
We all see him in the
Yes,
like,
Mataji.
hands and all, but at least now we know about him, what was his bhav, and we may not be able to understand everything, but still something about Mahaprabhu, some pastimes, very nice pastimes. No? That's why Prabhupada wanted it to be translated fast. Prabhupada's like everyone should read about Mahaprabhu, because we never heard about Mahaprabhu when we are young. Only Gaudiya Vaishnavas know them. Not everyone believe in Mahaprabhu being Krishna, right? But then see, so much is there in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So I'll stop with the small pastim. Huh?
In Bengal, when we were growing up there, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is God. And
Yeah.
his Paduka is brought every year from Puri for worship at different temples, Mataji, and then taken back to Puri.
Oh,
So
very nice.
I used to stay in my cousin's house, and there was a temple, and every day the Vaishnava Kirtans were done early in the morning, Mataji, to wake up to that sound. And then at the time when the Paduka was brought, there was a big procession. And so we've grown up with that, Mataji. So Mahaprabhu is very familiar to us as part of our own culture as well, before going into Gauriya Vaishnava Dharma. But they were all Vaishnavas, Mataji, were from the entire family.
Mataji, I can ask one question. That Charan Padika, that is of silver or of wooden?
Manushi Mataji means.
Yeah, the one they used to bring all around Bengal was made of wood, but the original one I'm told it is made of silver. Because
Okay,
in
that
Bengal we
Vishnu
don't wear
Priya,
gold on the
Vishnu
feet.
Priya get the silver one, na? Vishnu Priya get the silver one, na?
That I don't know, Mataji, but I know that in Bengal gold is never put on the feet, so therefore it is silver. Yeah.
It is very true, actually.
Mataji,
Thank
please
you.
do the class again from the
Hi.
beginning.
Yes,
So-
yes.
Yeah. So what happened once when Prabhupada's one disciple, he's a Maharaj now in Vrindavan. So when he wanted to join the movement, that is the Hare Krishna movement, all the hippies, everyone joined raw. They didn't even know who Krishna was. Forget about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They don't even know who Krishna is. But in India, when Prabhupada came and established the movement, Prabhupada thought of settling in America, not to come back to India. But then when he was about to settle, he had a dream that Krishna came and said, you have to go to India and start the center in Vrindavan and in Mayapur. It has to be there. So Prabhupada next day itself packed his bags and left. And yes, Vrindavan temple came, Mayapur, everything came. So when people were just coming to know about Prabhupada in India, they know about ISKCON in America. So even in Vrindavan, if you go, this ISKCON Krishna Balram temple is called Angrezi Mandir. Even the auto wala, rickshaw wala. Oh, you have to go to Angrezi Mandir. Angrezi means the foreigners, because all the foreigners are going, because Prabhupada has preached there. They come to Krishna Balram temple. So the auto wala, rickshaw walas, they call it like that. So Prabhupada established in the West, but then he wanted to establish in India. So many were joining the movement little by slowly, very raw. But there was one devotee who came, and those days Prabhupada's pictures were not published much. So they heard Prabhupada, but they don't know who he is. So this devotee came, this person came, and Prabhupada was standing in the front of the temple, and this devotee didn't know that's Prabhupada. He said, can I meet my guru? So Prabhupada's like, who is your guru? Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Prabhupada, how is he your guru? You never met him, but how is your guru? He's like, he is telling the right message because he says Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna. So Prabhupada's like, how do you say Chaitanya? Might be he's lying. How do you say Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna? So he said, yes, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna, I'm sure. It's like, how do you say? What's the proof? So that person said, I have read Chaitanya Charitamrita completely. Like Chaitanya Charitamrita, as Mata says in Bengali, it's already there, no, in Bengali language and all. Srila Prabhupada translated to English and all, but it's already, the original one is there in Bengali. So this person have read Chaitanya Charitamrita, and he had 100% faith and strict. He told that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna. So Prabhupada started arguing to test him. Prabhupada said, no, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is just a devotee. How can I say Krishna? In Kali Yuga, nobody can come as Krishna. He's like, no, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna. He argued so much, and he said so many proofs from Chaitanya Charitamrita and Ekala Ishvara Krishna Rasa Bhritya. And Prabhupada was impressed with him. So Prabhupada took his hand, and because finally he said, please, I'm not going to talk to you. I don't want to talk to you. So Prabhupada finally took his hand and went inside and showed all his foreign devotees that here is a devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He have read the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita and he knows Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Krishna. Let him join the movement. And immediately later on, he was given Diksha and everything. And Prabhupada's like, he's a devotee from previous life. So that's a great Maharaj now, still preaching in our movement. So they have already read Chaitanya Charitamrita, but others could not read. That's why Prabhupada had to translate in English. And just imagine, the Chaitanya Charitamrita was originally in Bengali, and translate in English was easy. But to translate the same Chaitanya Charitamrita in Bengali was difficult. And that was done by another disciple of Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for joining, and thank you so much. Okay. Hare Krishna. You can end here.
Thank you, Mataji.
Mataji, for narrating
Guru
the
Pranam.
class.
very much,
Thank
Mataji.
you.
Mataji from tomorrow.
Nice classes.
Finished within 3 months. Thank you
Mataji
so
from
much,
tomorrow,
Mataji.
which class will be there?
Half an hour is enough.
Ah,
Hare Krishna Mataji.
yes, yes.
May I ask one question, Mataji?
Ah,
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whether he did not want that so many people should know him.
yes. Kodka. Ah, yes, he don't want so many people to know him, so that his